This is part of us feeding the story. So the stories fed us, and now we feed the story. And each time one of us shares, it adds to the richness and the layering of the story.
The old stories we tell ourselves, and feeling into that part of being aware of what you're doing, that present moment. You're being distracted by all the things, you still come back. You still come back to yourself.
I think also it's really important to remember that we're not alone on our journey. Yes, we can get distracted and things come up. There is always support there along our journey, and to just be open to be receiving support.
When we embark on a new journey, it's like when we run a marathon, and how while we're on this marathon, we have certain checkpoints along the way that we kind of pause. Similarly, some of the distractions can actually be those checkpoints along the way. When we're on a long path, we need those distractions so that we can keep going.
What's meant to find you will always find you. It's that unseen magical part of life that it's there, and it was always there, and it was always going to be there.
Hello, beautiful souls. It is Sophia from Sacred You. Thank you so much for being here. But before we dive into today's Wisdom Circle, I have a small request from my heart. If our conversations ever resonate with you or support you on your journey, please subscribe to our channel or like this video. It helps us grow Sacred You, welcome more powerful voices into this space, and keep you connected to everything we share. Thank you so much for walking this path with us, and let us begin with today's conversation. Welcome to another incredible Wisdom Circles. My name's Sophia from Sacred You, and we have the absolute honor of presenting these incredible Wisdom Circles. And today I'm really excited because we have the beautiful Samantha Wittenberg, who's coming back to facilitate incredible stories from Myths to Feed and Nourish the Wild Women, with some talking about wild women from all over the world. And Samantha, thank you ever so much. I'm going to hand it over to you, and we will see you at the end. Thank you.
Thanks, Sophia, and welcome to everybody who is joining me in the circle in the Zoom room, as well as anyone that's listening or watching the recording. I'm going to be sharing a story from Women Who Run with the Wolves. Not a very well-known one, I must say, and it is a story about the dual nature of women. So all women have a wild instinctual side as well as a civilized side. And so, yeah, I'm going to ask you all to introduce yourselves in a moment, and I will just say that I am a speaker and storyteller, and I help parents, carers of neurodivergent children to overcome their particular challenges and reach the outcomes that they want for a more meaningful and purposeful life. And I'm going to ask you, Sallyann, to introduce yourself briefly.
Thank you very much, Samantha. My name is Sallyann Joy. I'm from Elevating Consciousness, and I'm really passionate about helping people release limiting beliefs, release societal shackles that have held them back, and just connect in with their true, authentic selves, to hear their inner voices of who they truly are, and allow that to guide their journey and assist them to remember who they truly are and what they are capable of achieving. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Sallyann. From Elevating Consciousness. Is that Elevating Consciousness? Thank you. Who is Leeann?
I'm Leeann, and I love to help women who to come back to themselves in the practice of art of feminine presence, and also through the facilitation of yoga and yoga nidra for that deep connection within themselves. And I'm really excited to be here to share this with you today, Samantha, and thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. And Joanne,
Hi,
what are you up to
everyone.
these days?
I'm still doing it. 40 years on in the health and wellness industry. How is everyone? Yes, without sounding like I'm following suit here with all the ladies, I too work with women to elevate their consciousness and also to connect them to their soul self. I've done a variety of, I've done so many things over the years, so I use a combination of different things, NLP, hypnosis, and other methods to guide them back to their soul self so that they can live a life of freedom, choice, courageously wild and free. So I love what I do, and I know that all of us align in the same direction of the passion that we have for doing this work. So thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here. Thank you. Abigail or Abby, which do you like?
I go by Abby. My friends and family call me Abby. Abigail is very formal. I am calling in from Edmonton, Alberta, Canada, Treaty 6 territory. I am a speaker. I am a published writer and author. I'm a trauma recovery coach, a business mentor, and a complex trauma survivor, as well as, and the most important part of my life, which is being a mama of four. I guide cycle breaking women and femmes, especially from the global majority. So these are Black, Indigenous women of color, leaders, mothers, healers, and creatives, that to really just move out of isolation and survival and into embodied, ancestral, community rooted leadership. And I do this by holding sacred spaces where all emotions are welcome, grief, rage, truth, wisdom can really be witnessed and integrated and really transformed into sovereignty. And so I'm the founder of the Healing Mama Collective, the Reclaim and Rise, as well as the Sovereign Seasons movements. And I truly believe deeply that our lived experience really holds the medicine that the world needs. And so that's why these conversations are so important. And so I'm excited to be here today.
Yay, thank you. Thank you, Abby. I love all your unique energies that come through even on this virtual realm. I just want to mention that I actually recently registered my business name, so I can be using it more now, which is Neuronest Carer Support. And so, yeah, I'm the founder of Neuronest Carer Support, and I'll be using that more. Who's ever got distracted from their true purpose and gone for the nice tasting bone at the side of the road and forgotten their purpose? So this is a story for all of those of us that have. So yeah, just make yourself comfortable. We're going to be going into story time. This is quite a short story compared to the ones I've told in the past. And still, story time is outside of linear time, so it can feel quite long. I don't know how you'll experience it, but just make sure that you're comfortable. It's not often we get to just sit back and enjoy a story. And you're welcome to put your videos off as well, because, yeah, this is being recorded and you might feel like, you've got to keep a certain face up, and you could just put your videos on when I finish the story. So how do we prepare for a story? How do you prepare for sleep? Just getting ready to release, I guess, the logical, rational side, the critical side, the analytical side, and thinking, oh, I know what this story is about, and analyzing it and what this means and what that means. See if you can just enjoy the story, enjoy the dream. enjoy the images. There are as many stories, all stories have so many interpretations, but I'm reading now from, did I show people this is from Women Who Run with the Wolves? I just want to acknowledge Clarissa Pinkola Estes and the work she's done in gathering stories. And this is actually one she said she got from a woman called Miss V.B. Washington, and that it's an African American story. And it's called Manawi. Before I start, I just want to read something she said. There is no one a wildish woman loves better than a mate who can be her equal. Yet, over and over, perhaps since the beginning of infinity, those who would be her mate are not quite sure they comprehend her true nature. So there was a man who came to court two sisters who were twins, but their father said, "You may not have them in marriage until you can tell me their names." And Manawi guessed and kept trying, but he could not guess their names. He would come again and again to visit the sisters, but he could not guess their names. The father shook his head and sent him away each time. But one day he decided to take his little dog with him. And the dog saw that one sister was prettier than the other, and one was sweeter than the other. Neither possessed all virtues, but the dog loved them because they gave him treats. And instead of running home with his master Manawi, he actually decided to hang around. And he overheard the women talking about Manawi and how attractive he was and how handsome he was and how manly. And as they spoke to each other, they called each other by name. And so the little dog heard their names and quickly started running back to tell his master. But on the road, he came across a bone that had been left there by another animal, and it was still quite meaty and like that nice rotten smell that was just so compelling and delicious for the doggy. And he settled down to enjoy this bone for a very long time until there was no sign of any taste left in it. But of course, by that time, he'd also forgotten the names of the girls. So back he went, and now he listened at the tent that they were in, and he saw that they were oiling themselves as if getting ready for a celebration. And again, they were talking to each other, calling each other by name, and he heard the names. Quickly, he started running back to Manawi. But fortunately, this little dog, he had a thing for nutmeg. And it just so happened that somebody had left a pumpkin pie to cool on a log outside. And the smells wafted over into his nostrils. And he set about devouring this pie. It was so delicious. And of course, he forgot the names. So very annoyed with himself this time, but he raced back and he saw that the sisters were getting ready for a wedding, to be married. And so he listened in, heard the names again, and this time he swore to himself he would not go for the bone, and he actually saw a bone. He would not go for anything else on the road. But unfortunately, a dark stranger as he was running to his master, a dark stranger came up from behind the tree and attacked him and was holding him so tight around his neck. He thought he was going to faint, but he fought back with everything that he had, and he bit the stranger's hand so hard. His teeth were just held in there until this predator screamed, "Just let me go and I'll let you go." And he said, and the dog said to him, "If you ever come back here again, you will not see the next sunrise." And off he went. And this time he made it back to Manawi. He told him the names and he said, "Quickly, you must get ready because it looks like they're going to be married." And Manawi jumped on his, first of all, he saw how badly injured his dog was. So he tended to him and all his wounds. And as he was doing that, the dog told him the whole story about how he'd gone, heard the names, and then forgotten the names, and then back and back. And at the end of that, they jumped on the horse and galloped to the daughter's home, where he told the father the names. And of course, the father said, "Yes, you may now get married." And all the way along, they were waiting for him, and this marriage was meant to happen. So the four of them got together, the two sisters, the Manaway and his dog, and they were very happy. And that is how Manaway won two of the most beautiful maidens in the land. And they lived in peace together for a long time. And then she says, "Crick, crack, crout, now the story's out. Crick, crack, crun, now the story's done." So I will just give you a few moments to just think back on the story. Was there a moment where you felt some emotion, you felt something move in you, you felt a connection, or you maybe remembered a story or sort of something that has happened in your life?
Yeah. So immediately, well, not immediately, but throughout the story, I was reflecting back on where I'm at currently in my life, and the word distraction was very evident. Like, it's like on a daily basis at the moment, being pulled into different directions. And when I feel into that, it's almost like it's not a bad thing because I'm still getting things done. Whereas in the past, I would have been really beating myself up about it. Like, why are you doing this when you should be doing, the old stories we tell ourselves. And feeling into that part of being aware of what you're doing, that present moment. So even though you're being distracted by all the things, you still come back. You still come back to yourself. And the dog, the metaphor of the dog, he still comes back and he still gets on with what he needs, what the result is for him and what his objective is in the end. So the distracting part it's really helped. It helped me realize, well, you know what? Even though I'm doing all these things, I'm still coming back home, and I'm still aware of what I'm doing. It's not unconscious anymore. It's a conscious actions, and that's okay because in the past I would have beaten myself.
In the past, you wouldn't even have thought of them as distractions.
No, exactly.
Yeah.
But also the other part about the conditions that are placed on us, and the conditions that this gentleman, this knight, had to, prove something to get what he needed. And to me, we don't need to prove anything to be. That's my take on that. We just be and just learn and just, yeah, but go for what you want. Go for what you want. And the persistence in that is also part of that journey as well for him. So I just so many learnings in that story. Thank you. I'll I'll let the other women have their
Yes, I can see they're percolating.
Yeah.
And what's really important about those distractions on the road for the dog is that each one brings him to the point where he's more determined. So that's what gives him the strength in the end to fight this predator, because he's determined to remember the names this time and to stay on purpose. And
never
also,
never give up. Yeah.
no, yeah. And also because it's important to him. It's something that's really important to him, clearly, and leads ultimately to his integration, fulfillment, and happiness. But there is a price to pay. He has to fight the dark force and get very badly injured. And the other one thing I wanted to say before we go on is that the dog is both the one who's getting the names and the one who's getting distracted. The man's doing nothing. He's going there, he can't guess, he go back every time. He's just, he's useless pretty much. But yeah, so it's all part of that. And yeah, I'll let you go on. Does anyone else want to share? Sallyann.
I think also it's really important to remember that we're not alone on our journey. Yes, we can get distracted and things come up, but also we're not alone on our journey. There is always support there along our journey, and to just be open to be receiving support as we have our journey through life, and just allowing that unfolding. And for some reason, those distractions occurred, but then he was put back on that road, and there was support there, and there was a bigger plan that unfolded over time that he was not aware of. So I think it's having that, also that trust. Sometimes we don't realize what the bigger plan is, and we don't realize how we are being supported. So just remembering that we're not alone, and there's a bigger plan that we're not always aware of, and we are being held and we are being supported along our journey, I think is also really important to remember. And the things that happen along the way on our journey are part of our growth and part of our learning. And so it's okay to have that journey and just know that you are being supported, and just allowing it to unfold, and take forward from that the learnings and the understandings that come as we travel on that journey, because ultimately all those things contribute to making us who we are as we travel through life. And we're always supported. Thank you.
The learnings. A good story needs challenges to be overcome. Yeah. Otherwise, there's no story, there's no hero. And what I love and what really surprised me the first time I heard the story was that all along they were getting ready to marry him. It was like a foregone conclusion. So when you talk about support, that's how I see that in the story. All along it was going to happen, but they just had to all play their parts. The integration, and that could be seen as like a spiritual integration that happens, no matter what you do, it's going to happen ultimately, maybe when you die, maybe before, maybe even just in your sleep. I believe that we go in deep sleep, we integrate with spirit, and we need to do that every day, because otherwise we actually go insane. But that's so anyone else want to share?
I can share that. Yeah, I'm loving the perspectives, the different perspectives, and it just kind of is brewing more things for myself. And I just think about whenever when we embark on a new journey, and it could be a really long term, let's say a long-term goal that, it's going to be like a 10-year plan kind of thing. And how the way I think about it sometimes is like when we run a marathon, and how while we're on this marathon, we have certain checkpoints, along the way that we kind of pause and, get a cup of water to refresh and that kind of a thing. And so similarly, some of the distractions can actually be kind of those checkpoints along the way. Right, where we're like, for example, the dog, had lots of treats along the way, and that kept him, almost like hungry and motivated to like continue moving forward. Similarly, when we're on a long path, we need those, distractions along the way, right? To like you kind of pause and like kind of rejuvenate or whatever is the case so that we can keep going. Because if not, like it's going to be very, very hard. It's going to be very hard to go on this long journey without having any sort of, pause or distraction or checkpoint along the way. We could also even lose hope, right? Like it's like, oh, like I'm not seeing any progress. Like I don't see the light at the end of the tunnel, like I'm just gonna give up. And so by having these kind of pauses in between, I think we need it. We need it to kind of replenish so that we can, keep going down the road. And then eventually you're closer and you get to the goal that was always meant there for you, right? And so I think it's about incorporating these moments into our journeys, even though sometimes they can be considered like distractions, right?
And it makes the journey more interesting, doesn't it?
Absolutely. Mhm.
And something you said at the beginning, I thought there was a word you used. Yes, this is part of us feeding the story. So the stories fed us, and now we feed the story, and each time one of us shares it, kind of adds to the richness and the layering of the story.
Mhm.
Okay, thank you, thank you, thank you. Leeann, did you want to share anything?
Yeah, I would love to share that. My deep takeaway from that was what's meant to find you will always find you. And
Mm,
no matter what the distraction was happening, it's that unseen magical part of life that it's there and it was always there and it was always going to be there. And that for me is also a beautiful reminder in my life for really my heart's desires that what's meant for me will always find me. And yeah, that was my takeaway.
mm.
Thank you.
Yes, it
Mm.
can be quite reassuring. I find it a positive story. Some stories are more sort of about warning people about certain behaviors, but this one I find it very affirming and reassuring. What about I wanted to ask you all about the aspect of the names and actually ask you, what are your names for these different parts of yourselves? So, as I mentioned, we could see the twins as one being the wildish, instinctual nature, and the other one the civilized. What's the opposite of instinctual? More, I suppose, more of the masculine, analytic, the doing and the being. There's so many ways we could describe the duality. The reason I love this story is because for most of my life, I was very unbalanced in the being. I wanted to be spiritual. I didn't think that money was important or things like having insurance or housing security, all of those things, I just put to side. I prioritized, spiritual experiences. And I don't like saying that because everything's a spiritual experience. I prioritized, and particularly one thing I prioritized was relationships, and particularly with men and different men, getting into one relationship and then another with not much of a break in between. And as a result, I think that that side of me, that doing side, became less and less confident and able to actually go out in the world and do stuff. So the last few years really has been a process of integrating those two sides of me, and or balancing so that there is more integration, more harmony, like what happens in the marriage, and actually naming because naming in stories is about coming into relationship with that part of yourself. So I was wondering if anyone wants to talk to those two parts of yourself, and maybe you even have names. Like I have a spirit name that I got, which was Misty Mountain Dreamer, and I used it for many years. People called me Misty. And then I realized that that was really part of that side of me that was out of balance. And I started using my given name again, because it has a much more active sort of energy. And yeah, so any comments, thoughts about different names you might have used, or you may have your own name for different parts of yourself? Anything that's brought up for you?
I can share a little bit what is kind of coming up for me, just based on what you just shared about kind of the different parts of ourselves. And there's parts of us that, we often try to hide, from not only other people, but from ourselves. And I know for me personally, being on a healing and recovery journey for the past 11 years, what I've really learned is that the ultimate goal is wholeness, to come back to wholeness. And in order for us to achieve that, we really need to, well, like I had to learn to come back home to myself and to honor and name all the parts of myself, even the parts that I had kept hidden for so long that I didn't want anybody knowing about, all of that kind of stuff. Because the more I guess, like, suppressed that part of me, the less whole I was with myself, right? Because I had to be a specific person around certain people. I couldn't fully show up the way I wanted to show up around certain people, for fear of judgment or shame, all of those kind of things. And I think naming is so important, just the symbolism around naming, it just brings me to this story early on in my recovery journey. And I did 12 steps. So I was in a 12-step program. And one of the steps, you have to kind of do this inventory about your life and the things that you've done, and kind of name the things that you've done. And then eventually you have to share this with somebody else. And I remember I just had like so much reservations around this, because like in my mind, I thought, no one has done these things, only I have, like, like I'm the only one that's experienced these things. And I remember talking to one of my mentors at the time and telling her these reservations that I had. And I was like, no one can know about this because it's just so awful. And he's like, well, does it have a name? And I'm like, yeah. She's like, well, then that means you're not the only one that has done it, because it has a name, right? And so, that kind of gave me some perspective, that it was like, yeah, like it's true. Once you name it and then you realize that you're far from the only person that has experienced these things, there's just a lot of power in that. And then with that, shame dies, right? Because as we know, shame thrives in secrecy. So the longer that you cloak it in secrecy and like silence, the more power it has, more power and control in a negative way, and the more you actually are able to flash a light onto it and name it and talk about it, the less power and control it has over you. And in fact, it actually becomes empowering. And so that's kind of some thoughts that kind of percolated for me as you were sharing.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for sharing that story. Powerful.
Yeah, I love that, Abby. Totally relate. As you were speaking, Samantha, around the two names, my mum was going, oh, hang on a minute, there's many names. Two names did drop in, though, when you said that, Athena and Rose, for the two women that you were talking about there in the story. But then I was like, but there's so many parts to us. There's so many parts. Like, how do you name so many parts? And as Abby alluded to, doing the work and finding those parts and integrating integrating them into you. So there is no shame, no blame, and it's just part of the experiences that we had from the past that we put in, you know, somewhere, we've hidden somewhere in a box somewhere so we don't have to see that. But it's not until we actually bring them out and look and heal and feel and heal, the cliche feel and heal, feel those parts of ourselves, and that the purpose that they had was to integrate us into that wholeness that you're talking about there. And I think this is why it's so important to do the work, and because we identify so many things, but truly we haven't got to the core of who we really are, or haven't lived authentically who we are, or found that part of us that is above all of that, right? Is that authentic you, that beautiful soul that you were born here on the planet to be. We've forgotten, right? So we can do all this work, but essentially just coming back. Who said coming back home? I love coming back home, and just reinforcing it so that those old identities just fall away and you're living in that empowered self, authentically you. So yeah, thank you for bringing that up. But the word that came also was balance. You know, being in balance, being in alignment with your truth. And one thing I didn't realise that I must have missed something in that story, that the beautiful maidens were getting ready for him. I thought they were going to be married off to somebody else because he lost his way and he didn't get there soon enough. But anyway, it's all about, you know, interpretation, isn't it? So
yes. No, all along they were just getting ready. Yeah. Because yes, doing the work is naming the parts. And I guess they could sense that he was doing the work, or at least the dog was doing the work. So it's a sort of paradox, because there's the one that we all long to go back to, or those of us who are, I guess, seekers. But what's important along the way is to name the different parts, or, you know, that's what the story's telling us, that we can't actually do this integration until we've named the parts, as you were saying, Abby, and actually gone and sort of even told somebody else, because this is what the father is, he's the boundary holder, he's the protector in the story of the women, and he's not going to release them until Manaway has fully named them, which means like fully understood, fully got them. So there's the naming to ourselves, the inner work of understanding our parts, and there's also when you go out and share with someone it's not going to be just anyone, but you want someone close to you to be able to see all those parts and still, you know, want to marry you or want to be close or whatever it is. Yes, Sallyann.
I think it's like we all have these parts, and I think it's about self-love and acceptance, as Joe just was talking about a little while ago. It's about loving and accepting all of us. Yes, there are times when maybe we might have done something different if we'd had the knowledge that we didn't have then, or the resources we didn't have then that we have now. With those resources and knowledge now, we may have done something different, but we did not have that at the time. So I think it's important to honour the journey and where we were at that time, and love ourselves for what we've been through, and just know that we did what we felt was right at the time. We did what we thought was best at the time, or we did purely what we thought we had to do to survive, whatever the case is. And I think it's important to just honour that journey and honour ourselves for being these beautiful souls like that chose to come in here. It's not easy doing this human journey. It's bloody hard, actually, at times. And I think we've all experienced that. And honouring ourselves for making that decision to come in here and do this journey for whatever reasons we chose to do that. And honouring the journey we have been on and loving and supporting ourselves for all we've achieved. Like we've all had, all of us here have had a big journey, and we're still upright, and we're still carrying forward, and we're still bringing forward and integrating all our experiences and doing what we can to support others. And so I think it's loving and honouring for all we've done. Firstly, the decision we made to come in here, for all we've done and all we do, bringing our light to support ourselves and others on this journey, and just validating all we've achieved. I think it's a bit like, love yourself first. Like when you get on an airplane, they say if the oxygen mask comes down, put your own mask on first. And I think we have to really honour, appreciate and love ourselves and all we've achieved, and do that first, which helps bring us into wholeness, so then we can honour and support others. So, yeah, beautiful story. Thank you. Lovely choice of a story. Thank you.
Thank you, Sallyann. Yeah, I'm glad you can see that self-love in that. That's important for especially the carers that I work with, who often feel guilty about doing things for themselves. And yeah, we can't be integrated. We just won't have that whole integrated person to share with others if we don't do that work for ourselves, or give ourselves the love, which takes work, doesn't it? It's not just like a fluffy, easy thing. It's a journey.
It has to be a conscious effort sometimes too, to remember to honour and love ourselves.
Choice. Yes, it's a choice.
And
it does get easier though. That's the thing. Like everything, when it becomes more and more of the default. It's like when you start driving, it's all got to be consciously done. But then as you do it more and more, it becomes your unconscious. You start doing it unconsciously, becomes who you are. Leeann, did you want to share?
Yeah, I'll just share. It's a really big concept, isn't it? As I've been listening to everyone, and I thought to myself, what could I contribute from my awareness of all of that? And a couple of things have come to me, and that is that how you shared, Samantha, that you had another name and then you came back to your other name. Well, I've never really been ever drawn to that, because I always wanted to be me. Always just wanted to be me. And I learned over the journey of my life that those two aspects, that we could give them a name, that really to accept that has happened, and that is the perceived great beautiful shiny part of myself, or of the light, let's say. Then as that discussion went by, I thought, what I really love about all of this, and even about the things that have happened or the things that I've done, it's all about frequency for me. It's the frequency of what frequency do I choose, no matter what's happened. What frequency do I want to share? What frequency do I want to be for myself first? And I think that's been that was a really lovely understanding for me, that frequency is so dear to my heart. And if I go back to this story, then it didn't matter what happened to the dog. It didn't really matter what he did. It didn't really matter even what the man did. And it didn't even matter what, the two sisters were. The outcome was just beautiful, and it was always meant to be. And I think the frequency for me is always whatever that is meant to be, which I might not even know, but I get to choose no matter what happened, just like the dog, no matter what experiences I had, it's going to be there, and it's always there anyway. So that was just my little input.
It sounds like a lot of trust. That you've got a lot of trust in the journey. Yeah.
May I just add to that? I love what you said there, Leeann, about the frequency, because I work with frequency, and I love that, it's about, well, how are we being in this moment? How are we being right now? And in that frequency, or even just like, if you don't understand frequency, well, what am I vibrating? What energy am I vibrating out of me at the moment? And checking in, and having those moments just to feel your energy and see where you're vibrating, so that you can continue to move forward amongst the chaos, amongst all the things that are happening in life. So thank you for sharing that piece. It's so relevant, isn't it? Coming back home and where am I vibrating? Because that affects everything and everyone, essentially, doesn't it?
It does. We are all energy, and so what we're vibrating at is what we tend to attract to. So being mindful of that, what we're vibrating at and what we would like to attract, and just vibrating at that level as much as we can. I think it's a really good tool. It can be very helpful, having that awareness.
And it's a journey also.
Oh, that's why we're here. Don't they call it the Earth School? We're here having the journey. We're here having the journey, and we're doing the best we can. And and to know that we're not alone. We're not alone on this journey, that there is support out there. Like this beautiful group, there's support out there. So seek the support and know that you're not alone.
Yes. And yeah, the story centers around the twins and the two women, which really represents the duality. But it sounds like you guys have gone beyond. You're beyond that. You're beyond the duality into the oneness. So go you. That's awesome. And these stories can be helpful for people who are really stuck in, who are out of balance like I was. And it can show them that both parts are really important and needed. And the duality comes through in the twin women, but it also comes through in the dog and the man. So the dog is, you can see the dog is representing the man's instinctual nature as well. And it is the man's instinctual nature that recognizes the women and the different parts of the women, or the masculine in us, however we want to read the story, because it's all parts of us. Well, I think unless there's any more comments, we can bring this to a close.
I think it is important to have that balance. And I totally agree with what you're saying there, Samantha, because the being and the doing, it's important. We can't, it's important to have that balance and have both those aspects to be able to move forward and to be able to achieve. Absolutely.
I mean, we've got, the Earth School has that physical reality of actually having to make a living and, actually to become an adult, which has taken me decades. I think I've only become an adult in the last few years.
I don't know that I don't know that I think I just want to keep on. I don't know whether I want to become an adult. I think I just want to keep on doing floating along what I'm. But anyway, whatever
what I
stage
mean
we're
by
at.
becoming an adult is I mean that I'm fully able to take care of myself and
Yeah.
not looking to others to take care of me.
Yeah.
So yes, I mean I want to be child. I want to also have childlikeness and childlike joy and awe and wonder and all those wonderful qualities. And I want to know that I can take care of myself.
Absolutely. Again, about the balance, isn't it?
Yes, definitely, yeah. Okay, well, thank you so much. This was a lovely, fascinating discussion. I never know what the story's going to evoke, and it's always a surprise because we are like these, treasure boxes. I don't know what's going to come up with the images, and the images evoke all sorts of memories and ideas. It's like that game, when you say a word and you get someone to say a word that they associate with it, and there's a game around that. It's just so different for all of us. So unique. We're all so unique, and I love that. So thank you for joining me, and I will be going off to tell a story in a women's circle tomorrow in person, which will be lovely at a women's festival. So yeah, I'll take all your energies with me and encouragement.
Thank you,
Sophie's gonna wrap
Samantha.
it up.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you. That was, I have to say, an incredible story, and you've inspired me to go back and read Women Who Run with the Wolves. And for anyone out there who is listening, live or the replay, I do really recommend reading that book. And then come and join us for more Wisdom Circles. Looking forward to the next one, Samantha, in a month's time. So I just want to honor you. Truly honor you. And all the other women with us today, Jo and Sallyann and Leeann and Abby, truly honor you. And Samantha, you are an incredible storyteller and a blessing for our world. So thank you. Thank you. And for everyone who's listening, of course, do click on the links below to reach out to these amazing women and come and check out Sacred You while you're there. Of course, it's easy. It's sacredyou.love. You put / join free. You can join us for free. And check out our archetype circles, our archetype quiz, many more wisdom circles that are coming on with the beautiful Joanne. In 2 days' time, Leeann will be with us facilitating the art of feminine presence. So do look out for that one. And thank you ever so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Samantha.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.